Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about Solana's epic move on the technical perspective and what you should be looking out for here for some pullbacks to re-enter into Sol, considering the fact that we've pretty much gone vertical for the last 2 weeks here. So on the weekly time, I'm going to go back to the monthly time frames just to give you the basic indicator. Sol has been going up for 3 months straight now. Okay, so if you bought it back in October, you would have realized almost a 10x gain. So it just kind of tells you the power of compounding and the power of holding. And also, I want to look at the longer time frames to tell you that from a TA perspective, this is what you really wanted, right? This is the area in which you should have bought Sol, not right here. This is at this point you're already chasing. The last time we had 3 months of gains was back in 2021, which we hit 4 months, and we had this kind of topping out pattern. So obviously we're already in our 3rd month. It's extremely overextended. I wouldn't necessarily be putting everything in at this moment just because of the fact that it looks like you got 1 more month at best, and even then it's going to be it's not going to be one of these big god candles as we look at it. The other thing also what I mentioned is if you take a look at the weekly charts, right, it gets a little bit more interesting because on the weekly side you could see that even if like we get something like this, right, we're going to get a pullback, right? Nothing goes up forever. And generally when you get these massive green candles like this, like we're talking about something on this magnitude, we generally tend to consolidate. That's not to say that Sol is going to drop back, but we're not going to go up forever. And the simple reason is because we do have a lot of resistance here at that $140 range. That's really what you want to look for. And at that point, we're probably going to get some sellers coming in. So you got another like 10, 20% maybe at best before this thing starts to pull back a little bit. Another thing also you want to mention is we do have, after this clearance, we have another at 180 and then our final one at 250. I suspect we're going to get a lot of people selling at these areas. And generally the way it works with these type of moves is that unless there's something like super fundamental, which it is, these moves generally are going to start to cap out here somewhere at that all-time high at 250. So that's not to say you cannot make money. It's just it becomes extremely risky to keep on chasing this to another double up. But that's the price you pay. Now, optimally, the idea here is to capture Sol at a lower price to get to 255, right? That's what you want to get to. What you don't want to do is start to chase this candle in the hopes you're going to get to 255 within the week. So what you want to do is wait for this to cool off a little bit. And hopefully you can re-enter at a lower price if you're still very bullish on the ecosystem. And generally, I'm going to tell you guys right now, these type of moves like this generally don't really last because at this point it's gone way too fast. What you want is something like this, right? And this is the meat of this is really the meat of the move, right? This is what called a whale pump. They pumped it here to this price to see how far they can get, and then they're gonna see where the sellers are at. And once this pulls back, that's gonna be your first entry point. If we go back over here, it's gonna be very similar, right? We had this massive pump right here. We had this consolidation. Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. You had this massive pump right here, which we almost went vertical. And then we consolidated for several days, I'd say for like a week or two. And then this was what called our whale pump. This was our test pump. This right here is actually what you're going for. You're going for this. Now, the price action that you get from here, from this breakout, this is about 88%. Now, if we go back to this side right here, this leg right here that you see, it's about 50%. So we're not really necessarily done yet. But the risk reward ratio here is extremely high because if you go back to this section right here, we did have a shallow pullback of about 20%. So that's what you really want. So you want this region to be the area which you can re-enter to get to the second leg, right? This is really the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, and that's about 150. So when you're looking at Sol from that perspective, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to re-enter here. When you're looking at Sol to re-enter these areas, what you want to do is see if we can get that 20-30% pullback. Now let's assume we get another 20%. That puts us at about 150, which I think it's a very reasonable point. As more people start to kind of FOMO in here, they're going to try to see if they can chase this. And then from there, you'll get that 20% pullback. So what we're looking for is a 20% move to 150. Okay. Then you're going to go down to, from that 150 area, we're going to go ahead and draw the line right here just to kind of get that 150 there. And then what we want is a 20 to 30% pullback from these levels. So we're going to go back down to somewhere around that 110. So your risk to reward ratio here should be somewhere around 120 or so, right? But again, it's going to take a little time to try to figure out how far we can go up, given the fact that SOL tends to run up pretty hard here. But again, you know, you're going to be risking 20, and on the event that we don't go to 150, then, you know, you got maybe another 20%. So this is actually not necessarily the best spot to enter, just because, like I said, we've already been going up for a long time. And this last candle that we got here, these last 2 weeks have been the biggest candle. So we generally give out about half of it out. So about, you know, $100 from these levels. So worst case scenario, we go down 20. We go down to about $100. Best case scenario, we go for another 20 to about 150 on the upside. So we're right smack at the middle. It's not a great screaming buy. It's not a screaming sell. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. CB out.